Well, a new day and a new me has emerged at last. Hope you like it because I sure do. I love it. And if you've watched Godzilla Kong the New Empire, you'll know what I got my inspiration from. But I wanted to talk about some more of the stigma in Native communities, particularly my community, and some of the other things that are really, really bad, like the racism against light skinned natives from the darker natives. That is something that really, really needs to be talked about more and brought out into the open. You know, if it wasn't for that kind of hate, there would have been no Dick Wilson and his goon squad on the Pine Ridge Reservation. That man was a half breed. You know, he looked white. And he was shunned along with many others. And what did he do? He got revenge. He got into power. And he rallied all those other half breeds. You know, and they went to war with the other natives that had discriminated against them. You know, that was colonization working there, working hard. You know, blood alone does not make you Crow or Abzalga. You know, the Crow were known for stealing children from other tribes. You know, if you know the story of Red Lodge, you know that's where the Bad Bears came from. But yeah, I got it. I never realized it though. I never realized it until later. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to realize it. Maybe I was just so desperate to fit in that I was willing to put up with just about anything that my relatives put me through. It wasn't right. It never was. You know, it's wrong to discriminate against anyone. But to discriminate against your own family, beyond cruel. And I want to talk about that. You know, I had two relatives I loved. Just did anything I could to appease them, but it never was enough. You know, especially for my older relative. His priorities were always backwards, as I see it now. And I didn't want to be part of that. Gosh, it's been 20 years since I've spoken to that guy. Because the man had no, I don't know. Our culture was more of a excuse for him to do what he wanted. You know, that was the one thing I never liked, was that he exploited our culture to serve his needs, his gains. Now he has nothing. Same for my other relative. I only ever wanted acceptance. But instead I got a lifetime of bullying. Bullying and horrible advice about how to be a man. Man up. Bajaloa, as they would say. But they didn't know the first thing about being a man. I'm more of a man than they are now. Than they ever were. Because I chose to get help. I chose to shed the toxic masculinity. All that bad stuff. I chose to no longer be haunted. And I have learned to forgive myself. And I am learning to forgive others. I hope you'll join me. Because I will continue talking about mental health for as long as I can. It's that stigma. It's got to end one way or another. It has to end. Because it's costing people their lives.